Native woman. I'm one of those statistics that Sean likes to talk about. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, of child sexual assault, and of multiple rape. Targeted as a Native woman. I started teaching the Violence Against Native Women course in 2009. And in 2009, I had the class write to Governor Sean Parnell and to our congressional delegation and to other members of the legislature. I wrote to him as well. I don't know if that's the reason why he started the Choose Respect, but he did seize upon those ideas. I'm asking the governor now to choose to listen to the women. I have to talk about Choose Respect and what's wrong with it. Because it's such an ironic thing to talk about Choose Respect to the general public when we have talk show radio hosts who refer to women as utes, short for uterus. When we have talk show hosts on our Alaskan radios who make jokes out of violence against women. Besides the fact that perpetrators don't choose respect, they choose victims, something Disa Jacobson has mentioned and pointed out since the beginning, there are a number of other things wrong with it. The governor does not just speak to this issue out of his heartfelt concern. He perpetuates it for maximum political gain. And if you think he doesn't, think again. His heavy-handed involvement does not provide for appropriate and open public discourse on violence campaigning and discourse because he controls the message. Controlling the message is not freedom. Funding under the governor's own criteria does not appear to favor any program that is not faith-based. This has had detrimental effects, and shelters have quite literally closed in some areas. You know, the Alaska Native Women's Coalition has not received a dime in state funds. The shelter in Barrow is the only one to serve the entire North Slope region. A first response shelter in Fairbanks had to close its doors, and I'd like to add that it was operated by a woman who was honored by the Alaska Federation of Natives for her commitment and her work. Well, where is the state's commitment? If the state relies heavily on federal funds to solve the problem, again, where is the commitment? Elsewhere.
Oil.
If the state doesn't put in check its own employees, its own boards and commissions, if it turns the other way, sorry about this, when someone within the state system violates or abuses or sexually assaults a woman or has a history of doing so, then where is the commitment? And I have to add that when I posted a comment about this on Facebook, evidently I'm on their radar, because within hours I receive calls at my work, at home, my cell, on my email at work, and on my email at home from the governor's office. But I don't believe they did a thing about the problem.
Special session on oil, not on women.
Yes, we need a special session on women. You know, it makes me really sad that there aren't a flood of Native women here today.
Right on.
I want you, and I challenge each and every one of you, to reach out to women of color, because we need to come together on this fight. The organizations or shelters that receive funding at all from the state are subsequently silenced. You don't think so? Think again. They are afraid to question because they cannot afford to speak up, or they may lose their funding.
Yes.
funders now control the message and even what others do. Who is questioning the governor besides me on this issue? Who? Let it be us. All of us. I've been having meetings with women of color.
Rhetorically, don't you?
I've been hearing stories that you would find awful. I have to ask you, where are the voices for the women behind bars? For the women behind bars or in mental institutions who are raped or beaten or manhandled by state employees? Where are the voices for women who are undocumented and abused with no place to turn for protection? Where are the voices for women who are made into slaves in homes or prostituted in this country and yes, in this state, through human and sex trafficking? Let us be their voices, please. In regard to the Forbes report that lists Anchorage and Fairbanks amongst the top most dangerous cities for women, Lieutenant Dave Parker, if you didn't read it in the Alaska Dispatch, he said that it wasn't really that grim for Anchorage because he said in his years with the department that he saw less than 10 jump out of the bushes type rapes. Well, rape is rape. Whether you meet someone you thought you could trust or not, whether you are out being social or not, let me tell you, workers in a corporate situation are not likely to report it if their boss is out of control or their coworker sexually assaults or manhandles them. What about them? Where is their freedom and their protection? I have to say, if you are afraid to speak, if you're afraid to speak up, then you're not free.
Right on!
If you are afraid to be here because you might lose your job, you're not free.
Right on! Yeah.
If you are afraid to speak contrary to the governor, then you are not free. Because violence is violence. Being unsafe is to live in fear. A society that does not allow you to speak up is oppressive. To be afraid is to be without freedom. Women, all of us, we have to demand our freedom. We have to be willing to stand up here and stand up everywhere, not just one day out of the year, but every day. Not just in a march down the street where the governor tells his state employees that they must march, and so they do so out of fear. That is not freedom. We have to raise our voices and tell them to think again. I don't know about you, but I'm mad as hell and I don't want to take it anymore. So I'm saying, dare to stand, dare to speak up, dare to change, because we cannot allow this to continue. It is a war zone. You can count off every third house in this city. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. And I ask again, please, don't forget those behind bars and in institutions. Please. Let us, and I teach my students now, you raise your voice. I keep wondering, is the university going to stop and tell me to go away? If they do, I'll just be here. So please,
I brought that too.
Make an effort to reach out to others, because there are a lot of people who are too afraid to be here today. We need to think of the words of that song, and I have to tell you that the words to that song brought me to tears, because I can tell you as a survivor, I never heard those kinds of words. We have to share them with one another now. We have to be the voice of love for each other. Gwyneth Chish, thank you.